Ahead of tomorrow's public hearing on religious exemptions for vaccinations, combined with the discovery of this new strain of the virus here in Connecticut, health officials are reminding residents that the COVID-19 vaccine is safe, effective, and it's important to receive it when the time comes. The COVID-19 strain, commonly referred to as the South African variant, now present in Connecticut. According to the Department of Public Health, the variant has been detected in a Fairfield County resident who is between the ages of 60 to 70 years old. Health officials say the individual is currently hospitalized in New York and their condition is improving. According to DPH, this new case is in addition to 42 confirmed cases of the UK variant in Connecticut. The UK variant is known to be more highly transmissible, but health officials say that isn't the case with the South African variant.
We also haven't seen data to suggest that it's more virulent, so causes more severe illness, more hospitalizations, more deaths. So we haven't seen that with this South African variant. I think, and in terms of the vaccines, both of the mRNA vaccines, there's been now laboratory data to show that they generate high levels of those neutralizing antibodies that protect against this particular strain.
Health officials emphasizing with this new variant present in the state, now is the time to ensure social distancing, double up on masks, and receive a vaccine when the time comes. On the same day, members of the Connecticut Freedom Alliance met on Zoom to discuss pushback on a bill they believe would lead to state-mandated COVID-19 vaccinations by eliminating religious exemptions.
If this is our only choice exemption, that does ring an alarm for some people.
The Public Health Committee is set to hold a virtual public hearing Tuesday for a bill to eliminate the religious exemption for vaccinations affecting children in public and private schools. The committee says the growing number of young children claiming the exemption is concerning. The bill would not force children to be immunized, but it would bar them from attending school in the state.
And that the Public Health Committee hasn't taken one coronavirus-related bill. After everything that's happened in the last year, and I would argue one of the toughest years of our lives in these children's lives, instead of addressing the huge problems that were going on, they decided that this was an emergency.
The public hearing will be held tomorrow at 9 a.m. virtually through Zoom. More than 1,300 individuals have signed up to speak, but it will have a 24-hour time limit. In Hartford, Nia Maldonado, Fox 61 News.